one simple dream. A united Holy Roman Empire, starting with the Habsburgs in 1444. Lean back and enjoy the beauty of a legit revoke of privilegia as Austria in just 15 years, so by 1459. I'm the student and this is the true Habsburg dream. Let's just start with Austria, because yes, as I said, this is an Austria start, even though you might have seen that I didn't end up as Austria, but it doesn't really matter that much for now. In the first early years, I focused heavily on admin mana generation, so I took the cheaper advisor tier 3 even that Austria has, as well as kept the focus on admin, as well as of course I tried to spend as few admin points as possible throughout the campaign. Next important thing are 2 wars that you have to fight, and you have to fight them as fast as possible because you will fall behind on the military technology, and you don't want to fall behind while you are fighting these wars. So first war is you want to fight Switzerland and the 3 leagues. They probably ally each other, they often do, otherwise it has to be 2 separate wars, but you need to take basically you need to full annex Switzerland, and you need to take 3 provinces, which is Bern, St. Gallen, as well as Chur from the 3 leagues. Now you don't need to full annex Chur, and you can do it the way that I did it, which is allying Milan and calling them in with the promise of land, which means that then you can, in the peace deal, just take the 3 provinces that you need and feed everything else to Milan. Therefore, you don't spend that much AE that early on. The other war that you want to do is a war against Burgundy, and this is actually of course a pretty difficult war. You probably have to go over your normal capacity of armies that you can afford in terms of money, but money won't be a problem later once you revoke, right? So just spend the money now to get the wars done quicker, and it won't be a problem later anyways. From Burgundy, you don't want to take anything in Burgundy, you just want to take 1 province in the lowlands, which is Antwerpen. So one of the biggest provinces there, which is a coastal province with Frisian culture and 18 development. Very important that you don't concentrate that development, you need 20 development in that province. At that point, all you want to do is basically get these wars and the cores also. After you of course took the provinces, you want to core them. All of the cores done until 1452, so until probably January 1452, which shouldn't be a problem, but that's all you need to do until the big trick comes in, which is forming Switzerland. And what you need to do for that is basically whenever you hit the admin points cap, which will probably happen before 52, you want to use the admin points to move your capital to Antwerpen. Now, if you do that, you can then de-state every single province or every single state except Antwerpen, of course, right? And therefore you can easily, first of all, switch to primary culture Slovene, which you have to give away to Styria, the province of Trieste, because it's Venetian culture. And after that you'll have exactly 20 development in the Slovene state and therefore Slovene culture, and then you can become primary culture Slovene. After that, what you want to do is, of course, you want to become Slovene culture because it's a different culture group, and as you are the emperor, you have auto-accepted all of the other Germanic cultures, and therefore you cannot switch to Swiss culture immediately, right? After you change to Slovene culture, you want to then switch to Swiss culture as primary culture, and then you can form Switzerland. Now, forming Switzerland has a few downsides, which is first of all, you're going to lose your emperorship. that also of course means that you lose your emperor title, right? But it also has a big upside, which is you become a republic. And more importantly, you become a republic with only 50 republican tradition. And then if you re-elect your ruler, you will be at exactly 40 republican tradition. You know, after you unpause, you immediately you let 1 day pass, right? And you re-elect your ruler, you will be at 40 republican tradition only. And that means that you can trigger an event, which in this case, I save scummed it, because I wanted to save time. You can also wait for it naturally. You can also re-elect your ruler a second time after 4 years, to get below 40 even. But yeah, in this case, I save scummed that event because I wanted to do it the earliest possible date to revoke. And yeah, the event that I save scummed for is Republican Traditions Debated, which loses you an additional 25 Republican tradition, giving me only 15 Republican tradition. And those of you who don't know, if you have very low Republican tradition, there is an event that can trigger that makes you a presidential dictatorship. Now, this already should trigger pretty fast if you have such a low Republican tradition. Of course, I also re-rolled that, a few times to get it done faster, of course. But after I got that, I was then a presidential dictatorship that, of course, lost its emperor title. I wanted to do all of these things before the 18th of October, 1452, because that is exactly the date where a pulse event can trigger for Switzerland, which is called People Demand Democracy. For that, I actually wasted a little bit of time save scumming that. What I would recommend you to do is to just trigger the event. You can of course save scum it, right? If you want to, or just wait for it to trigger naturally. But if you want to save scum it, as I did, I would recommend you to just save scum it, and then after you see where the rebels are spawning in which province, move your capital either on that province or next to a province of that province, because then the rebels need to occupy your capital as fast as possible. Now, letting these revolutionary rebels enforce their demands actually turns you, or they want to at least turn you, into a republic with tier 6 parliamentarism reform. But as you are a republican dictatorship, you will become a monarchy as soon as the dictatorship ends, and if you have below 50 republican traditions. So what that actually does is it enforces me to take the tier 6 reform, but on the monarchy path. And as I'm switching the government, actually that means that I won't have anything enacted. And the upside for that is that I can at that point, probably before you even move your capital and so on, change my primary culture to Frisian culture. Okay, which I have of course in Antwerp province. So I can become Frisian culture, and I'm now a monarchy that can take up to tier 6 reforms, but has no tier 6 reform enacted yet. And that means that I can then step up to 2, get a diplomatic reputation advisor, take the Dutch stadtholder monarchy tier 1 reform, therefore get a parliament, therefore click the decision separation of powers, and from there on I can trigger the event constitutional restoration 3 times in a row, and therefore gaining 900 reform progress every time I trigger that event. If you want to see how exactly that works, I did a video on that already, so check out this video if you want to know details about this strategy. But basically it is a reform farm that I use to gain around 2,600 reform progress for the cost of around 900 admin points for stability. While I did that trick with the constitutional restoration to gain reform progress, I also declared war on Bohemia, which was allied to the Emperor of Anhalt. Now, typically, it is very typical that one of these lower deaf nations becomes emperor, because typically also Bohemia and so on vote for these smaller guys that are their allies, right? So either Hesse or, Anhalt or Württemberg or something, one of these guys will become emperor, and all you have to do is to get into war with them in some way, basically, that you can then vassalize them in the end. And that is exactly what I waited for. I fought that war while I was doing the reform progress trick. And once I was done with the reform progress trick and I was a fixed monarchy with 2.6 thousand reform progress saved up, I could then trigger the imperial election again and become emperor again. And that is, of course, where the real fun begins. Okay, I had hoped that I would be able to get to this stage of the game by, 1455, but I guess January 56 is still alright, but we'll see in the end, I guess. Anyways, you can see that I'm still at war with Bohemia, and you can also see that I, did a little carpet siege, including sieging the war goal over here, which in total gives me right now a total of 19% war score. Now, if I want to piece out for making Anhalt my vassal, they wouldn't do it right now, but you're going to see in a second how I will do it. But first of all, if I'm able to click this and make Anhalt my vassal, what happens is I trigger an imperial election, because the emperor can never be a subject, right? You can also see it's just, 10 AE, so no one really cares about that. Now, if you have a look on the imperial election right now, you can see already that Cologne would vote for me if Anhalt weren't there, right? And if you have a look on Saxony over here, you can see that if Anhalt is no longer legible, you can see that I am by far the second one that they would vote for, right? Which means that once Anhalt is gone, basically no longer available, I will get the vote from Cologne and the vote from Saxony. If you compare that to the other votes, you can see Bohemia votes for Württemberg, Brandenburg votes for me, but probably not enough, you're going to see in a second, and then after that for Mecklenburg. Mainz votes for me, but also very close, and after that for Munich. The Palatinate votes also for Württemberg, so there's 2 for Württemberg already. And you can see Trier votes for me, and then after that for, if it's too close, for Hesse. And that means that the only nations, after I, basically get rid of Anhalt, the only nations that have 2 votes are Württemberg and myself, of course. And you can see they have only 28 prestige, and I have more prestige, and therefore I will win the election. I paused over here now and don't need to wait for another 4 or 5 war score to finish this war, because I can do one simple trick that will also help me a lot with the final 50 imperial authority, or probably like 60-70 authority that I need after I pass the Erbkaisertum reform, because after that I won't get any more imperial authority from getting re-elected. Okay, so it will be way harder to get enough imperial authority to revoke the privilegia, and that's why I'm now going to leave the HRE. And the interesting part is, if I leave the HRE right now, you can see the imperial authority drops immediately to 0. But as I said, it really doesn't matter, because until the point of Erbkaisertum, I can get basically infinite imperial authority, right? But after that, I can't. And that means that after I'm, the HRE emperor, I can of course join the HRE again. And that will then give me imperial authority then again. Anyways, now that I left the HRE, you can still see Cologne is voting for me, and Saxony is also still voting for me. I probably lost a few of the other ones. Yeah, you can see because I'm no longer part of the HRE, right? But yeah, it doesn't really matter. I still have these 2 votes, and they are enough to do this entire trick. Also, you notice, if I go to the Bohemia peace deal again, that making Anhalt my vassal right now is only 11% war score instead of 21. And that of course means that I can now immediately peace out this war and make Anhalt my vassal for 7 AE only, as well as of course with that triggering an imperial election. And you're going to see I will win that election. So there we go. There we go. Heinrich of Switzerland was elected the HRE Emperor without, you can see, being inside the empire. Now let's talk about the imperial votes for a moment. You see, they can't vote for me, okay? Because I have no heir, right? So they technically can't vote for me to, continuously become the emperor. But as long as I not unpause, and actually as long as I not unpause for a few days actually, they won't update their votes. And that means that as long as I keep being on this same day, none of the votes will change, including my 2 votes for myself. And now you can see Württemberg of course needs more than the same as the emperor to get elected, so that's no problem. As long as I stay on this same day, I will be re-elected every single time my ruler changes. And there comes the interesting part and the reason why I formed so much reform progress firstly in the first place, because I'm going to use that now to basically force a re-election or force 2 re-election cycles per 70 reform progress. Let me just show you how that works. First of all, I'm going to enact the stadtholder monarchy, as I'm of course, Frisian or Flemish actually, primary culture. So I'm just going to do that, and that gives me a parliament. Now, every time you get a new parliament, it doesn't matter if you had a parliament before, you get the ability to pass an issue. Okay? Now, as I have quite a few loans, 11 loans already, I can always, literally always pass this issue over here, which gives me immediately 30 government reform progress. So let's just get that. I just need to add 1 province to the Tagsatzung, as it's called in Swiss. So I don't really want to support the status. I don't really want to change anything over on my government abilities. So I'm just going to see if I can change that, yeah, like this. And now what I did is I generated 30 government reform progress, okay? And I already enacted the tier 6 that gives me an additional diplomatic reputation. You can see my diplomatic reputation is already at 5.5, and it will increase by 1 additional diplomatic reputation with this reform over here. So you can see that right now, they, for example, Augsburg, would already vote for the first reform, right? Even though they are theocracy. You can see Ansbach is very willing to vote for this first reform. And that is, of course, mostly because of my diplomatic reputation. Now, of course, I won't take any additional reforms, because from now on, every additional reforms that I take will cost government reform progress that I don't want to waste, because I want to use it for imperial authority. So let's just go on with the basic trick, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change for 50 reform progress to the elective monarchy, okay? Keep in mind, I got 30 reform progress from the parliament, right? Now I'm losing 50 to get the elective monarchy. So I'm at minus 20 right now. You can see what happens is, as I disabled the, general estate system, I get this event over here, which is basically about losing this special government type, right? And it gives me a new ruler, just a random ruler, very low age, doesn't really matter. And I have the elective monarchy now enacted, and that means that now, if I click this event over here, of course, first of all, I'm going to be re-elected because two electors are voting for me, right? So there we go, I'm re-elected, the emperor is dead, 10 imperial authority. Now I'm also an elective monarchy, and that means I can just choose another ruler again. I can also just choose the one that I got already, and once I click that, I get the event again. Okay, I get 20 imperial authority for just abandoning the Dutch Republic reform. For now, I'm at negative 20 reform progress, right? But now, of course, I have to re-switch into the stadtholder monarchy to do the whole thing again. So that's another 50 reform progress that I spent. But, of course, now I have the parliament again, so I can again take this reform progress from the parliament issue. And with that, I've got another 30 reform progress, right? And now I would switch back to the elective monarchy again. There we go, trigger the same event again, get re-elected, click this event. Now click the event of the elective monarchy, get re-elected again, and get 10 imperial authority again. And now, of course, switch back to the stadtholder monarchy and do the entire circle once again. Now, every time I do that circle, I gain 20 imperial authority, but I also lose 70, 100 for switching, and then I gain 30 from the parliament. So 70 government reform progress per cycle. So let me just do that over and over again. I'm going to keep passing the reforms until I reach Erbkaisertum. Then it gets a little bit more interesting. And we're going to see when I'm done with all of these reforms passed. And this is the end of this little journey of clicking government reforms all over again. You can see I actually save scummed for quite a while to get a decent ruler over here, 644, that I can elect in a second, but that's only because I want to continue this campaign, of course. If you don't care, whatever ruler you have, you can just take whatever you want from these guys or from whoever you elected first with the last change out of the Dutch Republic, right? But first of all, you can see I have one more election event open that gives me 10 imperial authority, but I don't need to click it yet because I can already pass Erbkaisertum, and I triggered this event because I want to get as much imperial authority after I passed Proclaim Erbkaisertum, because this event won't trigger anymore once I click this event, reform. Okay, so I wanted to trigger one last event that gives me imperial authority after I became the Erbkaiser. So yeah, let's now proclaim Erbkaisertum. There we go, which means that from now on there are no more elections, but you can see I still get 10 imperial authority once I click this event over here, and indeed it won't be 10, but you can see that this imperial reform over here as well as this Erbkaisertum reform both give plus 25% imperial authority growth modifier, and that counts for every single base modifier of imperial authority, including this 10 over here. So this 10 authority will actually become 15 once I click that. Now comes, of course, the interesting part that first of all, let me just choose that ruler over here. But yeah, what I can do is now I can join the HRE. As I said, I can't do that trick anymore. This event won't trigger again. But I can, of course, first of all, join the HRE, which gives me imperial authority, of course, right? That's why I left the HRE in the first place. So there we go. Let's join the HRE. And that gives me 33.9 imperial authority immediately from the start. And that is because it gives you 0.1 per your own development, right? So I have like 22.6 base authority that I gain from joining. But of course, then again, what I said, it's modified by 50% because of these two reforms. And same also goes for this event over here. I'm just going to click it right now. There we go. I'm immediately at almost 50 imperial authority just by, you know, setting that up perfectly. Now comes the next interesting part, which is I allied the Teutonic Order before I became the Emperor. And that means that once I let a few days pass, okay, so let me just do that real quick. And there we go, that is what I was talking about. You can see as the Teutonic Order has 100 opinion with me, the Emperor, they can click their mission to trigger the incident, the Teutonic Order joining the Empire, right? So you can see this is one of the best imperial incidents that you can trigger because almost every single prince wants to vote for this one. And I'm going to vote for this as well, and you're going to see once I let a few moments pass. This will give me an additional 10.2 imperial authority, of course modified then by 50%, so actually 15 imperial authority. And keep in mind that every single month that I, let pass right now without peace inside the empire gives me already 0.34 imperial authority. So all I need to do right now is to improve relations with all of the princes so that they all vote for Revoke the Privilegia, and together with gaining more imperial authority above 50, this will be done before 1460. Okay, I just allied the Livonian Order, and as I did, they immediately joined the Empire, which they often do once the Teutonic Order is in the Empire as well. So yeah, the Empire looks quite nice already, and that of course also gave me a lot of imperial authority, so we are at 80 already. And the Livonian Order immediately also backs at the reform Revoke the Privilegia, so I will get them as my vassal for sure. And also the Teutonic Order, as you can see, is already voting for it. And this is now the final month tick that I'm waiting for, the 30th October, and now I'm going to let one more month pass and one more 0.3 authority getting on the board, which brings me then up to 90 imperial authority, and with that I'm pretty sure I can now revoke. Also, by the way, in the meantime I allied Gotland and they joined the HRE, so really nice. That gave another like 2.5 imperial authority, so really pretty big honestly, because it pushes some of these nations over the edge. You can already see that 69 princes vote for the Privilegia and only 6 vote against that, which 2 of them are Bohemia and Silesia, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there you can see it, Silesia, because of course their overlord is not voting for it. As well as Milan, which, let me just find them. Milan won't vote for it, even if I had more relations and so on, because they are just too big. You know, you could see there's -21 modifier because they have so much economic base. So these are 3 that I can't influence anymore, but I think there are a few that I can influence, which is, first of all, Liège. You can see only -2.4, so I just need to ally them and then it's fine. The next one is Florence, which you can see is almost voting for me, so I also just need to ally them. And the third one is Genoa, that is also very close, and I can also ally them as well. And yeah, just for the matter of security, I'm just going to take the Diplorep guy, which already I think pushes, for example, Florence over the edge. But nonetheless, I'm just going to ally Liège, there we go, ally Genoa, there we go, and ally Florence, there we go. And that now means that only 3 nations are voting against the revoke of privilegia, which, as I said, are Bohemia, Silesia, and Milan. All the other nations in the empire, which are right now in total 73 nations then, right, will become my vassal immediately. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Let me just save for the moment and revoke the privilegia in 1459. And if you have a look on the diplomatic, or let's first of all have a look on my subjects tab, and there we go. Not a single of these subjects has even above 0% liberty desire, which is crazy in my opinion. But anyways, let me just unpause for a day. Maybe it will change after that. Doesn't really seem like it. They are all 0% liberty desire, and I'm no longer over my relations because, you know, everyone that I allied before is of course now my subject inside the empire, which doesn't take a diplo slot. So there we are, there we find in that sense as well. And now what I can do is, of course, I get insane amounts of money from my vassals already, but what I can also do is I can enable divert trade. There we go. Now I also set all of them to siege for the ultimate carpet siege after all. And if we have a look at the subjects map mode, you can see these are all of my subjects. The only ones, as I said, that I lost are Milan and Bohemia with its vassal Silesia, of course. Let's just see how my money situation looks like after the last month tick for today's video. Of course, I immediately became a great power and lost all of my rivals. That's very typical, of course. But yeah, let me just have a look. Yeah, we are collecting 8 ducats over here and 22 ducats over in Lübeck. Maybe it is still more worth it to send the one from Genoa to the English Channel. So let me just try that out first, or maybe even move my trade capital to the English Channel. Yeah, I think that's way better. You can see I'm collecting the same amount now. Instead of 6 ducats that I collected in Vienna before, I'm collecting 11 ducats in the English Channel because I moved my main trade now to Antwerpen over here, which means that I'll end up with a total income of almost 70 ducats before 1460, of course, and most of that not even coming from vassals, but coming from trade. And with that beautiful diplomatic map mode, I'm going to leave you for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we are going to see, as always, on another Monday.